Tennessee and Arkansas get set to do battle Saturday in Knoxville. This is our full preview, prediction, and breakdown of Saturday's contest between the Vols and the Razorbacks. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole the Bear Thompson. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We are on the chase to 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. We cannot do it without your love and support. And, of course, as always, check out our friends over at FanDuel, because we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. It's Tennessee, it's Arkansas at Neyland Stadium. An interesting matchup. First game for interim head coach Bobby Petrino. Meanwhile, the Vols look to keep things rolling coming off the bye week. This is our full preview and prediction of Saturday's contest. Hello, everyone. I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my co-host, colleague, partner in crime, one of the best in the business, Cole the Bear Thompson. Bear, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. Really excited to talk about this game with you. I feel like a game that sort of flying under the radar of a really electric slate, but this one, Bear, this one's got a chance for some real fireworks on Saturday.
It's Bobby Petrino's audition to return to Fayetteville 2.0 as the head coach. He's going to be on the sidelines for the first time this year. And at the same token, remember what happened last season when the Vols went out to Fayetteville? They were a top 5 team, never found the offense humming. One of the biggest upsets in college football for 2024. You want to take out a little bit of pent-up aggression. Both teams fully rested after the bye week. Let's see how they respond and be able to come on out in Rocky Top.
Yeah, Bear, going to be a fun one. You mentioned the Bobby Petrino factor. I didn't even think about what happened last season as well. Maybe some sort of revenge factor there. But for Tennessee, obviously, Bear, coming off the bye week as well, they've got aspirations and goals of a college football playoff. Again, because of the bye, I feel like we haven't talked about them in a while. But certainly, they've got big-time dreams, big-time goals, big-time expectations. And what's one thing, Bear, they've done well under Josh Heupel? They've won games on the home field. Their issues have come on the road, not at home. So you're back in front of the home faithful on Rocky Top. This game, of course, guys, taking place 3:15 p.m. Central Time on Saturday, airing on SEC Network. Game taking place, of course, in Knoxville, Tennessee at Neyland Stadium. Bear, Tennessee, the spread in this one, actually, interestingly enough, has come down. Vols were at one point a 13.5-point favorite. That spread has now dropped to Tennessee minus 12.5. So a little bit of money coming in on Arkansas. The over-under sits at 68.5. Bear, that is an astronomically high number. Vegas obviously expecting some fireworks between Josh Heupel and Bobby Petrino. The series history, Tennessee leads at all time 13-7. But who can forget last year? Heck, we were in attendance for that one last year in Fayetteville when Arkansas pulled one of the biggest upsets, I'd say, of the college football season. You might recall that was the same week that Vandy took down Alabama. Arkansas beat the Vols 19-14 in that contest. Really derailed Tennessee's, I wouldn't say derailed their season, but derailed some of their goals and hopes and aspirations for what the season maybe was going to be. A trip to Atlanta, per se, for Arkansas served as a big spark for then Sam Pittman and what the 2024 campaign would end up being. But Bear, as we look at this game, there's a lot of different ways we can go, but we have to start with the Bobby Petrino factor. And obviously, Sam Pittman is fired essentially over the bye week, or at least coming off that game against Notre Dame. You've now had over a week with Bobby P at the helm. You mentioned, and everybody wants to put out their hot boards, and we've done the very same. We've talked about this coaching vacancy and who may be the next head coach. Well, Bobby Petrino is trying to throw his hat in the ring. You know, this is somewhere he's been before. He's done it before. He's won at a high level. Now he takes over. Bear, I am going into this game fully expecting the unexpected, and I think Bobby Petrino is going to absolutely throw the kitchen sink at everybody they play the rest of the way. We talked about before, Bear. They were dangerous at baseline coming into this season when you have a quarterback like Taylor Green and Bobby Petrino as your offensive coordinator. Now with him as your head coach, I think there's a whole other layer to this where they're still going to be dangerous, if not even more dangerous offensively. Let's see some of the adjustments they make on defense. But I am just, Bear, either way, fascinated by this because I think it could be this huge shot in the arm that this team needs, even if he's not the long-term answer, at least the shot in the arm they need for this season. Or maybe we come to find out it's much more severely a personnel issue than even we gave credit to before. And no matter who's calling the shots, things remain ugly. So fascinated by what this Bobby Petrino thing looks like.
Remember, Bobby's now in control, and the organization is allowing him to have final say on a lot of things, which is why he's cleaned house with several names on the defensive side, which is important. They're giving him the chance to show, if you are the head coach, what would you do different? Okay, when we fire Travis Williams, we're going to go ahead and promote Chris Wilson as the new defensive coordinator. I'm going to go have a new play caller as a new interim OC, and I'm going to run things my way. I have said multiple times, the thing that has always stood out when it comes to this style of offense is a Bobby Petrino quarterback seems to hit his stride in year 2. So what's it going to look like now with him as the head coach? Are we going to see more plays that maybe Sam Pittman was a little bit pedestrian on calling, a little bit want to be more conservative at times and said, let's not air this out right now. You guys are Arkansas and you're on a 3-game losing streak. You have not won against a Power 4 team this season, and you've now lost to a G5 opponent. You got mollywopped by Notre Dame, and you found a way to lose to Ole Miss. So you have got to, at this point, say to yourself, just kind of let it loose. Like, don't be afraid of anything that comes our way, because let's just be real. We're going to have changes next offseason. This is going to be a team that looks night and day different than what it was going into the middle of October. So we might as well just have fun with it and figure out if this is a formula that works for us. So that's going to be really interesting to see. What's also going to be really interesting to see is what do they do during the bye week that maybe looks different for this Razorback squad? Because the way Sam Pittman's runs practice, the way that Sam Pittman goes about, the arguments and what we have with, certain design drills, that might be different than what Bobby does. And Petrino does a really good job of getting the Hogs mentally and physically prepared for this matchup to travel on the road to a place that is very challenging to win in. And you're going up against a team that very rarely loses at home and is the number 1 scoring offense in the country right now. It does show that things are trending upward for a person that, remember, was the last winning coach in Fayetteville. I mean, Arkansas was actually a prominent program on the cusp of becoming an elite team in the SEC. And of course, we know about the highway incident and the Harley Davidson getting involved. And unfortunately, that was where everything hit the fan. And Arkansas really hasn't been able to get back to that pinnacle just yet. So what do we notice in the revival of Bobby Petrino? And what moves that were made over the last 2 weeks have put the Razorbacks in a position to where maybe they could be a sleeper? Nothing is out of the ordinary when it comes to right now what's going on in Fayetteville, including Bobby Petrino having a rejuvenation that brings the Hogs back to the national spotlight in such a prominent way for all the right reasons.
Total side note, Bear, but you brought it up. I wonder how many folks in Fayetteville are going to be Bobby Petrino bike accident for Halloween this upcoming holiday season. I'm sure that's going to skyrocket now that he's.
Oh, you got the neck brace already, don't you, for our show?
Yeah. Bear, you mentioned the number 1 scoring offense in the country. 45, 72, 41, 56, 41. Those are the point totals that Tennessee has finished with in each of their first 5 games. I mean, they have not scored less than 41 points in any contest this season. That's what Arkansas is going to have to deal with. And now you're coming off the bye week. You've had extra time to get ready. You've had some time to rest up, heal up, what have you. Confidence is still sky high. Bear, again, there's a reason that Vegas put this total up around 68 or 69 points. I don't see this Arkansas football team. Listen, I think Bobby Petrino shot in the arm. I think this team's going to come out and play with energy and play inspired. And we see it all the time with these coaching changes, right? And I'm sure there's some mixed feelings on that roster, but I still think Bobby P is going to be able to get these guys fired up and excited and motivated, especially on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Nobody's been able to stop Tennessee. I don't care if Arkansas had a good defense, but here's the issue, Bear. They don't, and they haven't to this point. I mean, Bear, is it fair to say first to 50 wins? And, hey, playing this Tennessee offense, you might have to score more than 50 in this game.
That's the thing, is that what's going to be the number for Arkansas to have to come out and win? Because I think for Tennessee, you feel pretty confident if you get 41 points on the board, and how you get those 41 points, which is either trusting the ground game with 3 different running backs to go ahead and find creases and avenues that get you into the end zone. Chris Brazzell, we do not talk enough about him because Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion kill it down in Kyle Field. He has been just as tantalizing, just as efficient. probably, in my opinion, the second best wide receiver in college football when it comes to a consistency factor at this point. Maybe number two at maybe number three at worst. So they have the ability to strike on you. And Arkansas, you already brought it up. Arkansas is 110th in scoring defense this year. They are allowing people to gash them left and right. But they do have a good rushing attack. They do feel confident in what they bring back when it comes to the passing game with Taylen Green. You got to account for Taylen Green's legs as a factor in this game because if he is not afraid to tuck and run. And it is Bobby Petrino saying, you know what? Throw the kitchen sink at them. Let's just try and go ahead and figure out if they can stop us. With Mike Washington, with Braylon Russell, those two guys alone have 7 touchdowns and they're averaging 6 yards a carry. So if Tennessee's defense is not able to slow them down, and if we see a similar formula that what we saw with Georgia coming out of that third quarter, where they were able just to run it down and tire down the defensive line, that might be an area to where, Arkansas can at least make this a battle. I do agree with you when you talk about this line being at 63 plus. I mean, are we sure that it shouldn't be in the 70s? Because even with Tennessee's defense, the way that it's played, I don't think that we're giving enough credit to Tennessee's offense at this point. And that's crazy because they're the number 1 scoring offense in the country and they're number 7 in total yards. Well, what if we see the number 1 scoring offense in the country just lay waste to a team that at this point is already looking for 2026? I mean, that's where you got to start having the conversation of, Tennessee lost to Georgia. I mean, Tennessee lost at home to the Bulldogs. But you can't find 11 teams better than them to be in the college football playoff race. Look at what they did to Bobby Petrino's squad. So that's going to be a really big element in this game. I think it's going to be really important to see how quickly both of these teams' defenses are able to slow down or at least mitigate the big explosive passing attacks that we're going to see from Joey Aguilar and Taylen Green.
Not that it necessarily plays into this matchup on Saturday, but I would like to point out this series has produced some very interesting results, some very interesting plays, some memorable plays. I mean, the one that jumps out to me is, I believe, in the 90s, I forget exactly, and I know everybody tuned into this is going to remind me what year it was, where the Arkansas is up with like a minute left, and maybe it's instead of kneeing it, or they were trying to run the clock out, and the guy takes the snap, and the Arkansas guy trips over himself, and he goes to catch himself, and he fumbles the ball, and Tennessee recovers it, and they end up winning. And there's just been some wacky moments in this series. I mean, last year was a wacky moment. It was very unexpected. I remember going to that game specifically. Tennessee was a 2-touchdown favorite. Everybody outside the stadium was kind of in agreement. Hey, this is going to be a butt whooping of sorts. If Arkansas can cover, it's a success. And sure enough, not only they cover, they won. And for what it's worth, Bear, Tennessee has not beaten Arkansas, period, or in Knoxville since 2007. It's been a long time since the Vols beat the Hogs. But again, this doesn't really matter for this game on Saturday. This is a much different Arkansas team. This is a much different Tennessee team. As we know, the Tennessee program since 2007 has gone through their fair share of trials and tribulations. And again, you've got the Hogs here with an interim head coach. Excited to get a look there once again at Joey Aguilar. The offense has been electric, like we said. I think defensively too for Tennessee, maybe coming out of the bye week, I think they're better than what we saw. The last time we saw them, Mississippi State sort of had their way with them a little bit. To be fair, too, the turnovers kind of aided a couple of those Mississippi State scores. Some of those
14 points.
Balls. Yeah, exactly. Some of those tip balls. And so, is Tennessee able to? I mean, that's always going to be the big question, I think, with Joey is that, he's going to be a guy. He's an electric player. He's a gunslinger. He's a risk taker. Are we able to balance that with also playing smart, playing within yourself, and taking care of the football? And I think if you find that happy medium, that perfect medium, that's ideally when Joey's going to be at his very best. But sometimes with a guy like him, you got to live with some of the bad that comes with that good, because again, he is taking risks. So, I will be intrigued to see the play of Joey Aguilar, also maybe strides taken on the defensive side over the bye week, because I still do think this is a defense with a ton of talent, although to this point in the season, it's been kind of a mixed bag of results for them.
To an extent, yes, but also let's just make this clear. Like, Arkansas is going to have to find ways to capitalize the exact same way that Mississippi State did. And on the flip side, you can't have a Memphis 2.0 situation. In 2 of the 3 most important drives for Arkansas going into the second half, there were red zone turnovers. Bad interception by Taylen Green, the big fumble that ultimately cost you the win. So you got to be able to, when you get those advantages and you are working with a short field position, you have to capitalize, and you can't put the ball in harm's way. What's going to be really interesting is seeing how we get more in the passing attack for wide receivers outside of Omega Blake with Taylen Green. Jaylen Brown's done for the year. The broken tibia against Notre Dame, one of the gruesome injuries, got carted off. Wishing nothing but the best for him, but someone's now got to step on up and be that secondary wide receiver outside of Omega Blake. And if you can't do that, Tennessee, we talk about the way that they were able, we talk about the way that Mississippi State was able to go ahead and get after Joey Aguilar and force a couple of turnovers, and that led to scoring drives. Tennessee had 2 defensive touchdowns in the game against Mississippi State. They had the Colton Hood pick, and they had the big scoop and score by Josephs. So is that an opportunity to where, once again, you're seeing Arkansas gain a little bit of momentum? They're winning on 3rd and 6. They're winning on 2nd and 8, and they're pushing the ball downfield. And Omega Blake is moving, and Jaden Platt is moving, and Juwan Jones is moving, and you start to see momentum go in favor of the Hogs. And this is where it feels like Bobby Petrino's roster is finally coming together. And then Colton Hood jumps a route that's intended for Jaden Platt, and it goes back the other way for a 67-yard score. The offensive line for Arkansas isn't able to keep Taylen Green upright. And we talk about, a Jaden Murray getting a scoop and score. We talk about a Joshua Josephs getting another big-time sack, or Caleb Herring coming in and pulverizing and making it a 4th and 17, and you're out of field goal range. Like, the little things like that are going to be so important. And defensively, both of these teams are going to have their opportunities to capitalize and create turnovers. What you need to see happen, and what's really going to be, I think, the big ultimate stat that decides this game, who scores on the turnovers? What is the point differential when you get a takeaway? I think if you told me right now, one team gets 2 takeaways and they capitalize with 14 points, one team gets 1 takeaway and they capitalize with 3. The team that has the 14 points because of they were able to put themselves in a position off of turnovers, that's the one that walks away with the win.
Yeah, Bear, I was going to say this feels like a game. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I listen, Tennessee is very obviously the favorite. They're a double-digit favorite. If Tennessee plays a clean football game, they are going to win. I don't think it will matter what Arkansas does. I just, as long as I think the path to the upset for the Hogs, Bear, I think they need help is the point that I'm trying to make.
They need help.
Yeah, from a turnover 100%. Aspect. Like, they're going to have to – Arkansas is going to have to force the issue. It's going to have to be kind of like a Mississippi State situation, like you said. They're going to have to force the issue here. So
what they're gonna have to do is they're gonna have to get a short field position off a turnover.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna need a big time punt return that puts them into the red zone. So something along those lines. The little details that we don't spend enough time talking about, that's what's going to decide this football game for Arkansas standpoint. For Tennessee, play your game. I mean, so far you've played your game against Georgia. You got it by 14. I mean, you got it by 17 points. You played your game against Mississippi State on the road. You went to overtime, but you were able to win in overtime. You played your game against literally everybody else, and nobody's been able to stop you. I mean, if Tennessee plays its game the way they did against Syracuse, the way they did again against Georgia, I'm not saying that they're going to win by 21 points, but they're going to win this football game, and they're going to feel pretty confident going into the third Saturday in October.
Yeah, we've reached a point where for this Tennessee offense, you've got so much confidence. You say, hey, we know we're going to put up big numbers. You're going to have to keep up with us if you're going to have a chance to win the football game and beat us. Bear, that being said, let's lock in some picks and predictions for this game. Again, one of the more entertaining games on the slate, at least I think it will be. Would you like the honors? Or you want me to go
first? I'll go first for this one. I think that, again, Arkansas is going to give a full, transparent look at Bobby Petrino as the next head coach. And largely, as much as I wonder if this was ever going to be the case because of how things ended, I think that we live in a world of second chances. So he's earned the right to end his story the way that it probably should have the first time around in 2011. And I do think that, again, him on the sidelines, working with the offense, having final say on that standpoint of things is going to be beneficial for Taylen Green. It's going to be beneficial for, I think, the overall personnel. And it's going to be intriguing to watch. Like Bobby Petrino, unfiltered. Bobby Petrino in his element. Just let him throw the hammer. Let him throw the kitchen sink your way. It could end up being the reason why we talk about this version of Arkansas being more potent, being more physical, and also more unpredictable, that leads to at least a couple of games going down to the wire. And they are going to get an upset because it's just what Bobby Petrino does. I can tell you it's going to happen at some point. For Tennessee's standpoint, what did you do during the last 2 weeks after barely scraping by against a Mississippi State team that got mollywopped on the road against Texas A&M? What did you do to fix the faults that now put you in a position to where you feel confident taking on teams like Oklahoma, teams like Alabama, teams like Vanderbilt, and you don't allow yourself to fall into the trap of the look-ahead spot by now falling short against Arkansas? Joey Aguilar, how much better are you with building a repertoire with guys outside of Chris Brazzell? Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley, what is your role going to be in this game? How is the offensive line going to look in this matchup? Because Arkansas may not have an elite pass rush, but they still have dudes that can get after you because this is the SEC. This comes down to me for two main elements. Number one, it's in Neyland. It's almost impossible to win in that vicinity. You have to play a near perfect game. And if you don't, you got to make sure that Tennessee finds a way to give it back to you, the way that Georgia did. They got two big turnovers. That allowed them to gain some momentum. They didn't give it the sucker punch. And ultimately, we get to overtime and Georgia wins the football game. But the number two thing is, what's the buy-in from the locker room at Arkansas? Do players actually want to play underneath Bobby Petrino? Do they think that Chris Wilson is a better move for the defensive personnel than a guy that you have with Travis Williams, who was just let go? What is the internal factors that says, we know that we still have the best ahead for us with games against Texas A&M, games against Texas, games against LSU. We show up and we deliver. We may end up being a team that gets to 7-5. And 7-5 is a pretty good year. I just don't know if it's there right now. I can tell you it's there for Tennessee because I've said on multiple occasions, Tennessee, I think as a roster, is better suited this year to go on a run in the college football playoff because of who they have at quarterback and the identity of their offense, not only being such a good run-oriented unit, but not a lot of pressure just being put on one guy in Dylan Sampson. You got three dudes that can easily find creases and avenues and get upfield for explosive plays. I think that you see that on Saturday. I think that that's what we're going to get a lot of. I think that you are going to see Joey Aguilar feel a little bit more comfortable. And I just don't trust Arkansas's defense. They got boat raced by by Notre Dame. They got embarrassed in the second half by Memphis. And I'm not sure you can tell me at this point we've seen enough to where a transition of a defense coordinator is going to get the job done. So I'm taking Tennessee to win. I'm taking Tennessee to cover. I actually do think this is going to be a very high-scoring game because Tennessee's defense still is 110th in pass defense, which is going to allow Taylor Green to get some yards. I'm going to go with something along the lines of 41-30. I think that you will see a double-digit victory, but you are going to see Tennessee be able to go ahead and punch their way back into the conversation of being the most explosive offense right before they got to go travel down to Bryant-Denny Stadium for a night game out in Tuscaloosa.
Bear, at this point of the season, and even going into the season, but certainly this point, there are guarantees in college football. There are things that you feel really, really confident. Hey, I will place a bet. I'll put my money down. I'll put my word behind it. I can put my confidence in it. One of those things at this point, Bear, is Tennessee scoring 40 or more points. Like, until I see differently, or until they're going up against an elite defense, and that'll happen. Like when we're talking about the Bama game, which I believe is next weekend.
Next weekend.
When we're talking about that'll be a little bit of a different combo, but that's because of that game. What it is, we'll talk about that when we get to that. But it's become one of those guarantees. Like you feel really confident. Like, hey, it's going to take somebody kind of exceptional, pretty exceptional, to stop them from scoring and scoring at a high rate. So my question is, can Arkansas keep up? And listen, I think Arkansas is going to come out of this game wheeling, dealing, guns a-blazing. Bobby Petrino is going to be throwing the kitchen sink. Like you said, they're going to do some things that are exotic and trick plays, I bet, and just some different looks. And I'm sure Bobby is getting so deep in his bag over the last week and a half to just pull out whatever he can. Like you said, he's trying to show why he should be the guy to lead Arkansas football yet again for the foreseeable future. So I think this Arkansas team will come out with a spark. I think this Arkansas team will come out motivated, excited, energized, right? Typically what we see with teams when they change their head coach, right? It even though there's some separation and divide because some guys love the other guy, it still galvanizes a group where it's, hey, backs against the wall. We've got nothing to lose. Let's let it all hang. All that said, though, Jimmy's and Joe's and playing on the road, it doesn't favor the Hogs in this matchup, Bear. It simply doesn't. Like, you can come out excited and fired up. I could see Arkansas jumping out to a lead in this game. But I think when all the emotion and all that other stuff, when that subsides and you just got to square up and play football for 60 minutes, Tennessee's the better football team. Just top to bottom. They are. Even if Sam Pittman was still at the helm, that's what I'm kind of curious to see, Bear. is Arkansas going to be a better team without Sam Pittman on the sideline? Like, are they a better team? Are they the same? Are they a little bit worse? What without Travis Williams? Like, what changes? I guess because they've got to go one way or the other. I feel like I don't think they're just going to stay stagnant. That being said, like I mentioned, it's a guarantee. I think Tennessee goes over 40. They've done it all season long. I don't see this Arkansas defense being the one to slow that down.
No.
And yes, this series with the Hogs has been really interesting. There's been some wacky moments. But again, under Josh Heupel, one of the things Tennessee does as well as, if not better than anyone in college football, is protect their home field. They win at home, right? So we saw what happened last year in Fayetteville. It was that signature Josh Heupel road loss. You don't have that issue this year. And, Bear, I don't think Tennessee's going to have any issue running the football, moving the football, throwing it, doing whatever they really want to do. Again, I think Arkansas comes out fired up. I think they might hit some balls, catch them off guard a little bit, jump out to an early lead. And I think they're going to play inspired football. But at the end of the day, I just think Tennessee's the better team. And outside of, unless Tennessee's out there coughing it up, turning it over 3 or 4 times, like we talked about, giving short fields, lending a helping hand to Arkansas, as long as they're not doing that, which I don't think they will, I think you're going to be fine. I think it's going to take something like that for Arkansas to pull the upset, but I don't think it happens. I think Tennessee gets a big win. Give me Vols 44, Arkansas 34. So I think they put up some points. I think Bobby Petrino and company, if there's one thing he does well, it's the offensive side, and Taylor Green's still an exciting player, and they've got some weapons. And, Tennessee here and there has shown they're susceptible to the big play here and there a bit, but yeah, I just think Tennessee's the better team. The 12.5 numbers kind of, I don't know that I'd touch it. I love the over in this game, 68.5. It was one of my best bets of the week. I do think there's going to be a lot of points here. I think the Vols win this contest, whether they cover or not. 44-34, I'm going with my final score. So
again, we both have it going into the 40s. We both have Arkansas scoring 30. I mean, so it's not like we're not saying that Arkansas is not going to put up points. You just not trust them to get the win. And I don't blame you at this point. I don't know why anybody would.
Yeah. I have to go against one of our contributors, Sierra Clark, who does a great job. She texted me and said that apparently one of her exes is a big fan of the show. And she told me that he told her to tell me that, hey, tell Chris that Arkansas is scoring 50 this weekend and they're beating Tennessee. Sorry to not acquiesce your request, as they would say. But no, I think Vols get this win. You agree with me, Bear. We'd love to hear from you. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? We're both going Tennessee. Who gets the win on Saturday? Tennessee and Arkansas when they square off at Neyland Stadium. Guys, it's going to do all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get out of here, I want to tell you about our friends here at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5, get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. If it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Guys, once again, we appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Help us get to 30,000 subscribers. Follow us across all social media platforms. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, go to our website, secunfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. We're signing off. Appreciate you all tuning in, and we will catch you all on the other side.